How does this work for the Leafs, in your opinion, between now and opening night next year?
Yeah, I mean, that's just it. There's a lot of bigger questions than just, how do you improve this roster? And right now, I don't think anyone can answer for sure whether the GM or the coach are back next year.
Brad Treliving suddenly became the center of a storm inside the Toronto Maple Leafs organization. As pressure builds and the team struggles in the standings, insiders across the NHL are pointing directly at the front office. Reports now suggest major leadership changes could be coming if results do not improve. What is happening behind closed doors in Toronto may reshape the entire franchise. A growing discussion around the Toronto Maple Leafs began after league insiders spoke about possible leadership changes inside the organization. The comments focused on general manager Brad Treliving and head coach Craig Berube as the team struggled to maintain position in the Atlantic Division standing. The Maple Leafs entered this stage of the season holding a 27-24-10 record through 61 games. That result placed the team outside the strongest playoff positions in the division. The pressure became larger because Toronto finished the previous season with a strong record. During the 2023-2024 NHL season, the Maple Leafs posted a 52-26-4 record and advanced to the second round of the Stanley Cup playoffs. Their postseason run ended in a Game 7 loss against the Florida Panthers, but the team had still shown the ability to compete deep into the playoffs. That performance created high expectations for the following season. When results began to fall below those expectations, analysts and reporters started examining the team's leadership structure. NHL insider Pierre LeBrun said, "I do not think anyone can answer for sure whether the GM or coach are back next year." That statement circulated quickly across hockey media and raised serious discussion about the future of both Brad Treliving and Craig Berube. Brad Treliving became the Maple Leafs general manager in May 2023. Before arriving in Toronto, he served as the general manager of the Calgary Flames for 9 seasons. In Toronto, Treliving took responsibility for roster construction, contract negotiations, and trade decisions. Those duties placed him at the center of major decisions involving the team's future direction. At the same time, Toronto's roster includes some of the NHL's most recognized offensive players. Austin Matthews, Mitch Marner, William Nylander, and John Tavares formed the core of the Maple Leafs forward group. Matthews led the NHL with 69 goals during the 2023-2024 season, which stands as one of the highest totals recorded in the modern era. Nylander produced 98 points, while Marner recorded 85 points in that same season. That deadline placed general manager Brad Treliving in a position where decisions about trades and roster adjustments could directly affect Toronto's playoff chances. Inside the hockey world, many observers began watching closely to see what move might come next. Pressure around Toronto's leadership increased as the season moved closer to the NHL trade deadline. The deadline set for March 6 is one of the most important points in the NHL calendar. Teams across the league review their rosters and decide whether to add players for a playoff push or move players to rebuild for the future. For the Maple Leafs, that decision placed direct attention on general manager Brad Treliving. Treliving's role in Toronto involves every major roster decision. He manages contracts, oversees trades, and shapes the long-term structure of the team. Since joining the Maple Leafs in 2023, he has worked under strong expectations from ownership and fans. Toronto is one of the NHL's largest markets, and the organization has not won the Stanley Cup since 1967. Because of that history, every season brings heavy pressure to deliver playoff success. At the same time, coaching decisions also became part of the discussion. The Maple Leafs hired Craig Berube as head coach in May 2024 after the team parted ways with Sheldon Keefe. Berube arrived with strong credentials. He previously coached the St. Louis Blues and led them to the 1919 Stanley Cup championship. Toronto selected Berube because of his reputation for disciplined defensive systems and structured play. Roster stability also changed earlier in the season when Toronto adjusted its coaching staff. The organization dismissed assistant coach Mark Savard during the campaign. Savard had been responsible for the team's power play system. The decision added another shift within the Maple Leafs leadership structure as the season continued. Because of the situation, the statement from NHL insider Pierre LeBrun continued to circulate in hockey discussions. His comment remained direct and clear. "I do not think anyone can answer for sure whether the GM or coach are back next year." That quote captured the uncertainty surrounding Toronto's leadership as the season approached its final stretch. Inside the organization, decisions about the roster still rested with Brad Treliving. The approaching trade deadline created the possibility of major moves. Across the league, front offices watched the Maple Leafs closely. The outcome of those decisions could influence Toronto's playoff chances and determine how the team moves forward during the rest of the season.
Yeah, I thought we started better. I don't know. I mean, just kind of lost it there. Just really disconnected throughout all 3 zones, and just bad, just fairly embarrassing, to be honest with you. It's just not the way. We need to have more pride in our play, no matter where we're at, no matter what the situation is. We just have to have more pride in our game, and we didn't have that tonight.
Shockwaves hit the Toronto Maple Leafs locker room after a crushing 5-2 loss. Cameras were still rolling when the captain stepped forward and said words that no one expected to hear. Auston Matthews did not hold back. He called it fairly embarrassing. In that moment, everything shifted, and what he said next sent a stronger message than the score itself. The Toronto Maple Leafs lost 5-2 to the Ottawa Senators. It was their third straight loss. The defeat came after the Olympic break during a stretch where the team has struggled to regain rhythm. Ottawa scored early and controlled long portions of the game. Toronto allowed 5 goals and failed to close the gap. After the final horn, Auston Matthews spoke to reporters. His tone was direct and steady. He said, "Just bad, just fairly embarrassing, to be honest with you." The quote was reported by Reuters and repeated across national outlets. Matthews did not shift blame, and he focused on the team's overall effort. He continued with another clear message. "We need to have more pride in our play no matter where we are at, no matter what the situation is." That statement became a headline within minutes. The captain pointed to pride and accountability rather than tactics. His words addressed the entire group inside the room. The loss marked the third consecutive defeat for Toronto. During this stretch, the team allowed multiple goals in each game. Defensive coverage gaps appeared in key moments, and opponents converted scoring chances off turnover. Against Ottawa, those breakdowns led to sustained pressure in the defensive zone. Ottawa built momentum early in the game, and Toronto trailed after the first period. Attempts to respond in the second period did not change control of play. The Senators capitalized on defensive mistakes and extended their lead. Toronto's power play did not generate a shift in pace. Matthews also spoke about the mental toll of losing and said that losing like this definitely wears on you. That quote was published by multiple outlets, including The Score. It marked a rare public admission of frustration from the captain, and his comments reflected concern about consistency and performance. Toronto remains in the playoff race. Points lost during this skid have tightened the standing. Every game carries weight, and the 3-game losing streak has increased pressure on the roster and coaching staff. The Senators' victory added to that urgency. Matthews has been measured in past post-game interviews, but in this case, his language was stronger than usual. National coverage highlighted the difference in tone. The word embarrassing stood out and framed the performance in direct terms. The losing streak began immediately after the Olympic break. In those 3 games, Toronto surrendered multiple goals in each contest. Offensive production declined compared to earlier stretches of the season, and the margin between wins and losses narrowed. Each defeat added pressure to the standings. Matthews did not reference injuries or scheduling, and he did not mention officiating. His comments centered on effort and pride, and that focus stood out. As captain, his statements carry weight inside the room and across the organization. The remarks were delivered without hesitation. The Senators' win strengthened their position in the season series. Ottawa maintained control through disciplined neutral zone play, and Toronto struggled to generate consistent offensive pressure. The power play did not alter the outcome, and these details were outlined in multiple game reports, reinforcing the context behind Matthews' frustration. Head coach Craig Berube addressed the media separately, and reports indicated preparation would continue without public conflict. No teammate publicly disputed Matthews' comments, and the team moved into practice sessions with the next game approaching quickly. The schedule allowed little recovery time. Standings data showed Toronto still within playoff contention, but recent losses reduced separation from nearby teams. Points gained by rivals increased urgency, and each remaining game carries significance. Matthews' statement framed that reality in direct language. During the 3-game skid, defensive coverage lapses appeared in high traffic areas, and opponents created chances off rebounds and slot passes. Those patterns were cited in post-game summaries, and the Senators' 5-goal performance reflected that trend. The numbers align with the captain's assessment. Matthews' history with media availability has typically featured balanced evaluations, but this instance differed. National outlets highlighted the sharper tone, and the captain's call for more pride became the defining takeaway from the night. Practice resumed shortly after the loss, and focus turned to adjustments and preparation. The next performance will be measured against the captain's public challenge. His words remain part of the official record, and the response on the ice will determine how this moment is remembered.
Breaking now at noon, Pittsburgh Penguins captain Sidney Crosby is officially out. KDKA sports reporter Cassidy Wood is here in the studio with us this afternoon. Cassidy, this isn't just 1 or 2 games without Sid.
Yeah, that's right, Barry. Unfortunately, Sid will miss a minimum of 4 weeks now. Just not the news we wanted to hear today as the Penguins.
More bad news has just hit Sidney Crosby, and this time it could shake the entire Penguins season. The Olympic injury that forced him out of the gold medal game is now confirmed to sideline him for weeks. Pittsburgh has placed its captain on injured reserve. The timing is critical, the impact is immediate, and the consequences are still unfolding.
The Penguins return to the ice tomorrow after the Olympic break without Sidney Crosby. Crosby is out for at least 4 weeks. Fans have been waiting for news on his status since he was hurt while playing on the Canadian Olympic team.
Yeah, it really is, Christine. You know, especially when you consider that Sidney Crosby has really been an Iron Man for the last 4 years for the Pittsburgh Penguins. He has missed only 2 of their last 300 games, but that now is going to change today.
The Pittsburgh Penguins confirmed that Sidney Crosby will miss a minimum of 4 weeks because of a lower body injury. The injury happened during the 2026 Winter Olympics in Milan. Crosby was hurt in Canada's quarterfinal game against Czechia. He left the ice late in the second period after getting tangled along the boards and did not return to the game. After evaluation, the Penguins placed Crosby on injured reserve. The team announced the move following his return from Italy. Being placed on injured reserve means Crosby cannot play during this recovery period, and the team can adjust its roster while he heals. The 4-week timeline is the minimum. His status will depend on medical evaluations in the coming weeks. Crosby did not play in Canada's semifinal game against Finland. He also missed the gold medal game against the United States. Canada went on to lose the final 2-1 in overtime. Before the injury, Crosby recorded 6 points in 4 Olympic games. He was serving as captain of Team Canada during the tournament. After the gold medal game, Crosby spoke about the injury. He said he was pretty close to playing, but ultimately could not go. He also said he did not have an issue with the hit that led to the injury. According to reports, he credited the medical staff in Italy for giving him a chance to attempt a return. At the time of the injury, Crosby was leading the Penguins in scoring this season. Before the Olympic break, he had 27 goals and 32 assists in 56 games. Despite his age, he has remained one of Pittsburgh's top offensive producers. The Penguins entered the Olympic break with a 29-15-12 record. They were sitting in second place in the Metropolitan Division with 70 points. The team now faces a tight schedule over the next several weeks. Reports indicate Pittsburgh has 26 games remaining in the regular season, including a stretch of 15 games during the next 4 weeks, while Crosby is expected to be out. The following day, Canada's head coach said it was too soon to confirm Crosby's availability for the semifinal. Crosby did not dress for the semifinal matchup against Finland. Connor McDavid took over captain duties in his absence. Canada advanced to the gold medal game, but Crosby was again ruled out before the final against the United States. The United States defeated Canada 2-1 in overtime to win the gold medal. Crosby watched from the sidelines. His Olympic tournament ended with 6 points in 4 games. Those numbers included goals and assists from the opening round games before the injury. His absence in the medal rounds changed Canada's lineup structure. After returning to Pittsburgh, Crosby underwent further evaluation by the Penguins medical staff. The team confirmed the lower body injury and announced the minimum 4-week recovery period. Placement on injured reserve gives the organization roster flexibility, but confirms he will miss multiple regular season games. The timing affects a demanding portion of the Penguins schedule. Pittsburgh reserve. They also acquired defenseman Samuel Girard in a trade earlier this season, adding depth to the blue line. This marks one of the first Olympic tournaments with full NHL player participation since 2014. Crosby has a long Olympic history. He scored the gold medal winning goal for Canada in 2010. In 2026, he again served as team captain. His tournament ended early due to injury. Crosby is in the 21st season of his NHL career. He remains under contract with Pittsburgh and continues to produce at a point per game pace. His recovery timeline now becomes central to the Penguins' playoff positioning. Medical evaluations will determine when he can resume skating in practice. For now, Pittsburgh prepares to compete without its captain during a stretch that could define its season.
Yeah, Canada comes back. Yeah. They tie it in the second period, and then in overtime, it's Jack Hughes for the USA. Unbelievable.
It's so fitting that the game went to overtime because both of these teams, you know, the favorites coming into the tournament, were pushed to overtime earlier in the week in the quarters. So, I mean, I was hoping it would go to overtime for extra.
The golden goal ended a 46-year wait, and the celebration was loud. The images of Jack Hughes without his front teeth spread across the world within minutes, and less than 24 hours after overtime Canada, Hughes delivered an update that shifted the focus away from the medal onto his condition. And that update carried consequences beyond the Olympic stage. Jack Hughes scored the overtime winner against Canada in the Olympic men's hockey final, and the goal secured the United States' first Olympic gold medal in men's hockey since 1980. The game ended in sudden death, and the final score was 2-1. One shot decided the championship as Hughes received the puck, released a quick shot, and beat the Canadian goaltender, and officials confirmed the goal immediately while Team USA left the bench in celebration. The victory ended a 46-year gold medal drought for U.S. men's hockey, and the last Olympic gold came in 1980 at Lake Placid. That team defeated the Soviet Union before winning gold, and this time, National Hockey League players led the roster, and Hughes' overtime goal placed him at the center of that historic moment. But the game carried another turning point earlier in regulation when Hughes lost multiple teeth after contact near the net. Broadcast footage showed visible damage and blood appeared on the ice as he skated to the bench for treatment, and medical staff evaluated him before he later returned to the game. There was no report of a concussion, and the injury involved dental trauma. Images of Hughes smiling without several front teeth spread across media platforms within minutes, and the moment became part of the Olympic coverage. Despite the injury, he continued to take shifts, and he did not leave the game permanently, and his return set up the final sequence in overtime. After the game, Hughes addressed reporters, and according to coverage from Sports Illustrated, he confirmed the damage and said, "I will get them fixed." That short statement carried weight because it confirmed that dental repair would be required, and it ended speculation about whether the injury was minor, since it was not temporary and it required follow-up treatment. Olympics.com reported that Hughes laughed off missing teeth after scoring the golden goal, and the article described him smiling during celebrations despite the visible loss of teeth. The report focused on the sequence from injury during regulation to return to play, and then the overtime winner, and that timeline became central to the story. A New Jersey oral surgeon later spoke to NJ Monthly about dental trauma in hockey, and the surgeon explained that injuries involving lost teeth often require procedures such as implants or reconstructive work. While the surgeon did not treat Hughes directly, the explanation outlined the seriousness of such damage and dental replacement is not immediate because it involves planning and medical care. The celebration on the ice continued long after the overtime goal, as Hughes skated with teammates, held the American flag, and wore the gold medal during the ceremony, while cameras continued to capture his missing teeth. The images symbolized both victory and injury, but the story did not end with the medal presentation. The focus shifted quickly after the medal ceremony, and attention moved from the overtime replay to Hughes' condition as his statement, "I will get them fixed," confirmed that dental procedures were ahead. That meant medical appointments and recovery steps, and it also meant questions about timing as the National Hockey League season prepares to resume. Hughes plays for the New Jersey Devils in the National Hockey League, and the Olympic tournament paused the NHL regular season while players are expected to return to their teams after international competition ends. Any confirmed injury draws attention, especially when it involves a top scorer, and dental trauma does not always prevent play, but treatment can require multiple visits. Sports Illustrated reported that Hughes shared a broken teeth update following the gold medal win, and he acknowledged the damage publicly, while the outlet confirmed he would undergo dental repair. No official timeline was provided in that report, and there was no announcement of missed games at that time, and the confirmed fact remained the need for corrective work. Newsweek also reported on Hughes' media appearance after the victory, and during one exchange, he shut down an awkward question from a reporter, and the interaction was brief. It redirected attention to hockey matters, and the report described the moment as firm and controlled, while that exchange circulated across social media and became part of the wider coverage around him. The New York Post published coverage describing Hughes as having cemented his place as an Olympic and American hero, and the article connected the overtime goal to the long gap since 1980. The framing focused on history and national impact, and it emphasized that the United States had waited decades for this result, and the goal ended that drought in sudden death against Canada. The rivalry between the United States and Canada in hockey carries deep history, and Olympic matchups between the two nations often draw large audiences. An overtime final increased the pressure because one mistake could decide everything, and Hughes' shot ended the contest instantly, and that sequence elevated his profile beyond the National Hockey League season. Olympics.com documented that Hughes returned to play after losing his teeth and later scored the golden goal, and the report emphasized his ability to continue competing after visible injury. It detailed the progression from regulation damage to overtime victory, and that order of events defined the headline coverage. Medical experts speaking to NJ Monthly explained that dental injuries in hockey can involve fractures, displacement, or full loss of teeth, and treatment may include implants or reconstructive procedures. The recovery process depends on severity, and public reporting has not stated the exact number of teeth lost, while Hughes confirmed only that repairs are required. As Team USA celebrated its first men's Olympic hockey gold medal in 46 years, Hughes stood at the center of every frame, with the medal hanging around his neck and the missing teeth visible in every photograph. The overtime goal secured his place in the record books, and the confirmed dental repair added the next chapter to monitor as professional play resumes.
Is over.
It's been a really long time. We need to get best on best back at those big games where it's country against country and it becomes more than hockey.
Opening night of the Four Nations face-off.
Well, for me, it's Celebrini, McDavid, Wilson. I love that. I think that's a really good line.